What's up guys, it's Farhan here. In this video I'm going to go over how to get epic drone hyperlapses from start to finish. So this video is going to be in two parts, one out here in the field and the next one is going to be at home where I'm going to show you how to edit these hyperlapses. For those of you who aren't aware, drone hyperlapses are a captivating and innovative technique that combines the capabilities of a drone with time-lapse photography. In a drone hyperlapse, the drone captures a series of still images while flying along a specific path, and these images are later stitched together to create a dynamic and visually stunning time-lapse video. This technique allows for breathtaking aerial perspectives and unique storytelling opportunities, making it a popular choice for videographers and photographers looking to add a new dimension to their creative work. I personally create a lot of hyperlapses and use them for my projects, whether personal or commercial. I usually post a lot of them on Twitter and Instagram, and if you're on those social platforms, make sure to follow me there. Links are in the description below. So there's actually a lot of work that goes into hyperlapses, and the first thing you want to start with is planning. Now this is the most important part because this is where you're going to decide what your hyperlapse is going to look like, and that's what's going to decide the tone for the rest of the process. So ideally you want to add a lot of motion in your hyperlapses, whether it's a busy highway, a busy intersection, or somewhere where you can see the city skyline and there's a lot of clouds. Getting a lot of motion is very important for a hyperlapse because it makes it look really nice. It makes it look interesting. The more motion you have in your hyperlapse, the better it's going to look. So once you've decided the spot that you want to go and fly and what your subject is, it's time to get your drone up in the air. Now, before the drone is up in the air, you got to make sure of a few things. Now this includes ND filters. Now when you're filming cars, for example, you want to add a little bit of motion blur in them. So what you want to do is add an ND filter on top to get your shutter speed down to 1/5 to 1/4 of a second, which is what I recommend. Get some motion blur in your hyperlapse. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your setting is set to 4K raw photos. So what the drone is going to do is take a series of images and store the raw files, but also create its own hyperlapse as well. So you want to make sure that it saves the 4K raw files for you to edit later in post. You don't want to use the video, the hyperlapse that the drone created for you. Okay, now that the drone has taken off and I'm in the air, next thing I'm going to do is hit that icon there and go down to hyperlapse. Now, like I mentioned before, make sure that they're set to 4K raw, and if they're not, make sure to change it to 4K raw. I don't want to save the JPEGs, I don't want to turn it off, I want the raw photos there. Now, like I said, the drone is also going to create one for you, so you can choose if you want it to be in MP4 or MOV formats. Now, when you're in the hyperlapse, you've got four options: the free, circle, course lock, and waypoint. So I'm going to start with my favorite first, which is the waypoint hyperlapse. So I'm going to select waypoints, and so what happens in waypoints is you set up the points where you want the drone to fly, and it'll fly in that path depending on the altitude you want and the directions you want it to fly, and it'll fly in that path on its own, and it's amazing. And I'll tell you why it is my favorite one to use. So what I'm going to do here is change the shutter speed because I didn't put ND filters on and I forgot it as usual. I tend to forget something or the other. So I'll set it to 1/100th of a second. That seems fine. So what I want to do is I'm going to start from somewhere here. I'm going to select this as a waypoint, and then I'm going to move somewhere here. I'm going to set this as my second waypoint, and then I'm going to move here and set this as my third waypoint. Now you have a list icon over there, and if you hit that list icon, you can change the name for this waypoint and you can save it. Now this has a lot of benefits. Now just for this video's sake, I'll save it as YouTube and save. So what this does is the next time you come to the same spot, you can take off and use the same waypoints to create another hyperlapse. Now this is really good when you want to create those day to night or night to day transitions, or from one season to another. You can come, take off, and it'll come back to the same exact spots and fly in that way in those directions. So now that I'm ready, I'm gonna hit that icon over there and choose the sequence I want. Now you can hit it in reverse, so it will start from the last waypoint and go to the first waypoint. And if you go to normal, it'll fly back to the first waypoint and come to the last waypoint. Now you can choose intervals over here. This determines how long it takes for the drone to shoot photos. It'll take a photo every 2 seconds, or you can set it up for every 7 or 8 seconds. That's up to you. I generally do 2 seconds, and if it's a cloudy day, I do 3 or 4 seconds. The longer intervals will obviously take longer time, so just keep that in mind, especially when it comes to battery. So just for this video, I'm gonna choose 6 seconds and I will hit the go button. Now the drone is flying to the first waypoint and it's going to take 150 photos and take 5 minutes to create this hyperlapse. Now for the next waypoint, which is my second favorite one, is the course lock. Now with course lock, what you do is you set a certain direction and it'll fly in that path. Now what's interesting is you can set a point of interest in as well in this. So for example, I'm going to set this as my direction and I will choose this building here as a point of interest. So what the drone is going to do is move in that direction and get this as the point of interest and move along this path. Now the next mode is the circle hyperlapse. So what you do in this one is, it's pretty similar to course log, but obviously moves in a circle. You just draw a box around your subject and you choose the direction you want it to fly in. You choose your speed and your rotation clockwise or counterclockwise, up to you. And the drone will move in that path, shooting hyperlapse photos. Now generally I don't use the free option, but if you want a still time lapse where the drone is just standing in one place or in a certain position and you want to just take time lapse photos, it'll just shoot photos for you to edit in a time lapse. So the free is pretty similar. You choose your interval and your length and your speed, and you could either fly the drone manually or just leave it in one place to shoot photos. Now that I've taken hyperlapse photos out here in the field, the next part is to go home and edit these raw hyperlapse photos. But before that, I'm gonna fly my friend's custom built FPV and get some interesting shots. So let's hope that goes well and I don't crash it. Now I'm going to show you how I edit these raw photos and then merge them into a hyperlapse. Now for this example, I'm using Lightroom, not Lightroom Classic. You could use either, it's fine. I usually use Lightroom Classic, but just for this example, I'm using Lightroom. It's got the same user interface on your iPad and your phone as well. So I'm just going to be using this as my example. It pretty much works the same and on Lightroom Classic. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the photos. So I'm gonna add all these 300 photos. Once all of them are imported, I'm gonna start editing one of the photos. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any filters when I was filming this hyperlapse, so there's no motion blur. Also, I apologize if you hear this tiny fan making noise. It's just my LiPo charger charging some LiPo batteries because I'm gonna go fly the FPV in a bit. And now that all the photos have been imported, I'm gonna choose any one of these photos and start editing them. Now you can edit them to make it look however you want. However, I recommend giving it a natural look so you can match it with the rest of your footage. So you can add some grading in your video editing app. So over here you can either choose to do it using the sliders, or you can choose one of the presets. Now I have some presets that give this a more natural look, so I can choose any one of those and just go with it. I think I might go with this. So just basic adjustments such as giving exposure, adjusting the exposure a little bit, maybe adding some contrast depending on your taste, bringing down the highlights, increasing the shadows and temperature. I wouldn't generally add too much saturation. In fact, I always usually desaturate it. And then when it comes to clarity, if you want to give it the sharp look, you increase the slider toward the right. If you want to give it a more dreamy look, you bring it toward the left. So it's all just preference. Now for me, this looks pretty nice and I can do the rest of the grading in my video editing app. So just a quick before, after, before, after. Now what I'm going to do is copy settings from here and select all the photos and paste settings. Once all the settings have been applied to all of the photos, I will now export them. So come to File, Export, and make sure in your settings you have it in JPEG. and the dimensions are in full size and quality is 100%. Now that all the photos have been exported from Lightroom, I've opened up my choice of editing app, which is Final Cut Pro. This is what I use to edit my videos and my hyperlapses. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you that when you create a library, you create a new project, and this is what your property should look like. So you name the project Hyperlapse, for example, and then when you come into video, instead of choosing 1080p or 4K, you choose custom and enter this resolution over here. Now this is a resolution of all your raw hyperlapse photos, depending on the type of camera you've used. For example, if you use a Mini 3 Pro, the resolution will be different. I've shot this with the Mavic 3 Pro, so this is the resolution for the photos shot on the Mavic 3 Pro. So I'm going to enter that resolution over here in order to get the entire resolution to work with over here. So make sure you enter custom and enter the resolution which is applicable to the camera that you've used. And I'm going to change this to 30 frames. Now that all the photos are here in Final Cut Pro, they're all individual photos. So the next thing you want to do is change them to a compound clip. What this does is take all the photos and merge them into one entire video file. Now the next thing I'm going to do is change the duration of this clip. Now this was initially shot as a 12-second hyperlapse. So I'm going to change the speed here. I'm going to increase the speed and bring it down to 12 seconds. Now there's many ways you can do this in Final Cut Pro. You just hit Command R and drag it from the top. That way the speed keeps increasing and the clip basically gets shorter. Now I'm almost at 12 seconds. There we go, perfect. So now it's a 12-second clip. I think I might have increased the exposure a little too much, but that's fine. This is just an example video anyway. Now unfortunately we cannot stabilize compound clips in Final Cut Pro. Now the next thing I'm going to do is export this video. So I'm going to come to export file and I'm going to choose settings and make sure it's video only, and then choose, because I wanted to export in this particular resolution, which is the same resolution of the photo. So I want to bring it back, have the entire resolution, and then crop in and adjust the way I wanted to. So I have all that resolution to work with. So you can choose whichever codec you want. You can go with H.264 uncompressed, 422. Now obviously ProRes will give you bigger file sizes. Now as you can tell, this is not really stabilized and we're gonna have to stabilize this more. But the good thing is that it has all the resolution from the original photos, so that is a very good thing. Now I brought back the same clip that I exported and I'm just gonna hit stabilization and wait for it to stabilize. Once that's done, I'm gonna export the file again, but I will name it Hyperlapse 1. Now when I play this exported clip, it looks pretty good and I'm happy with this amount of stabilization. Maybe you could put it one more time and do it. So if your clip is not stabilized and you're not happy with that stabilization, what you want to do is bring it back again and hit stabilization, export it, bring that file back again and hit stabilization again till you're satisfied. Or what you could do is get apps like Adobe's After Effects, which allows you to stabilize your hyperlapses, and it does an amazing job at it. Final Cut Pro has inbuilt stabilization. It has gotten better, but it's still not there yet. Now I want to use this to export it to Instagram. So what I'm going to do is bring the stabilized hyperlapse that I just exported into my Reels project. Now over here you can zoom in and crop in the way you want to crop in, because you're not going to lose quality. You have a lot of resolution to do this. So what I usually do is just come down to type under spatial conform and hit fill, and you can pull it up, you can zoom in more, you can do as you wish. So you've got all the resolution to play with. Make sure you do so. And what I'm going to do is move it a little bit to the left And what I can do is add some music and export it. Now, earlier I was mentioning that you should keep your photo editing as natural as possible, and you could add a LUT in your video editing app to match the rest of your footage. So here what I could do is I can just choose any one of the LUTs that I have and just apply it, change the intensity, and see how that looks. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't, I'll make other adjustments to it. So there you have it, the complete guide on how to create hyperlapses using your drone from start to finish out there in the field. And when you come back to edit the hyperlapse photos, merge them into a video and edit them as well to give it a more stylized look. And I just want you to know that a lot of the things I mentioned are subjective, they're personal opinions. You can choose to film a hyperlapse the way you see fit, the way you want to do it, and you can edit the hyperlapse photos the way you want to edit them. So if you want to add some heavy edits in Lightroom, you can do that. If you want to add just a touch, you can do that as well. It's totally up to you. All I did was show you how I edit them, what my workflow is, and now you have it. And I really hope it helps you out and hope you create some really awesome hyperlapses. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who've been watching my videos and supporting my channel. It means so much to me, to a small creator like me. It means the world. And I look forward to putting out even better content. I really hope you found this video helpful and you include it in your workflow as well. So please hit the like button as it helps out this video and my channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll make sure to see you in the next one.